Thousands of years ago, long before country, king, and nation, existed the Hominins, a class of advanced thinking apes, which had dominated the planet for well over 7 million years. These trees and chains were tied in a long line of speciation, back to the Hominoidea, the major tree and branch from which all apes are descended. This includes everything from bipeds, chimps, tree monkeys, and of course all of the hominins.
Ardipithecus, Paranthropus, Australopithecus, and the Homo genus trees being the most significant. However, by the year 4 million, all former hominids, with some special cases, had been mostly outcompeted by the hominins. Hominins, a smaller branch of the hominids, were bipedal, mostly hairless primates, which quickly dominated that once diverse landscape, with Australopithecus being the first to walk on 2 feet. Competition throughout this strand for dominance was incredibly fierce, with tons of smaller branches and groups spreading out in an attempt by natural selection to find the perfect niche genetic line. This, of course, would all come to a head when a new genus was born, the Homo genus. Homos had larger brains and naturally evolved out of Australopines. Those that did not evolve as the branches converged into this new genus. Paranthropus was quickly snuffed out, and Ardipithecus had already been dead for 1 million years by now. In the year 300,000, East Africa was dominated by the Homo, having taken all the old territory from their ancestors. They gathered in hunter-gatherer tribal communities, as the name implies, following game for meat and gathering nuts and berries. Even far into prehistory, these beings bonded in pairs of 2. They were surprisingly monogamous, with very few cases of polygamy. Although, when your only options are your cousins, I get it. Families were tightly knit, in groups of 10 to 12, and clans were loosely collected around 50 to 100, typically descendant of a patriarch. This offers strength in numbers against strong predators and large prey. Fire had been used for nearly 700,000 years by now. Species competed for resources with other hominids, and each other in the valleys and jungles they lived, having the same upright posture, remarkable stamina, and deep social bonds. Hey, maybe you could learn a thing or two.
Bruh.
The members of the Homo genus in this year were Homo heidelbergensis, Homo antecessor, Homo neanderthalensis, and Homo erectus. However, a new species was evolving, deep within the African continent, now Ethiopia, branching off of a mystery hominid, descendant of Homo antecessor. This new group would be unlike anything that came before. They were the first ones who didn't have opposable toes.
What is this?
This mystery hominid could have been Homo heidelbergensis, Neanderthal's ancestor. It remains unconfirmed. Kind of like my girl. In this year, the dominant hominin was Homo erectus, already over 1 million years old and spread across the continents, creator of fire, well adapted to the climate of Earth, and well survived, having ventured from Africa 1 million years prior. However, this new group, known as the Homo sapiens, would prove quite the challenger. They proved that they wouldn't just be the dominant hominin, but the only one. Early sapiens didn't move far for 160,000 years out of modern Ethiopia, pushing only south towards South Africa in 160, the Congo in 130, and West Africa around 130,000 years ago, just like most of their ancient ancestors leading back to Australopithecus. However, something in the air started to change. During this time, Heidelbergen and antecessor perished mysteriously around 200,000 years ago, with some theorizing climate change.
By 120, the winds of change had become a hurricane. It suddenly got cold. colder and colder. Too cold for winter. Extremely cold. Sheets of ice, miles thick, began extending down the continents. The Ice Age had begun. This had the immediate effect of killing off legend of the hominids Homo erectus 117 to 108,000 years ago, last reported on the now island of Sumatra. In this rapid decline, sapiens quickly rushed to fill the void, leaving Africa at around 90,000 years, entering Asia at around 70,000 years, India at 65, Southeast Asia at 73,000 years ago, and Australia and China at around 50,000 years ago. During this rapid expansion, another hominid, Homo florensis, would appear and cease in the blink of an eye, evolving out of erectus in a desperate attempt to adapt to the new age. Just like them, took the big slip. Went extinct, extinguished by none other than the sapiens. This change was so fast the entire species couldn't survive it. In a rapid event, Erectus went from ruler of the earth to a pile of bones. Its successor, too late to save its current lineage. Neanderthalensis was spared this rapid death and conquest by successfully adapting to the Ice Age climate, their larger bodies likely assisting them from freezing in the cold weather. They would live then side by side with sapiens, one the dominator of Europe that wasn't covered in ice miles thick, and the great glacial tundra of the now Siberian steppe, the other hugging warmer climates of southern Asia, Africa, Australia, parts of southern China, and the Middle East. They would exist across the Mediterranean for around 50,000 years. Although these two creatures were well aware of one another, it didn't stop a toleration between them for a time. However, the peace wouldn't last forever. Sapiens would eventually start incursions into now Europe. The exact cause for this is unknown. Having spread thoroughly throughout the rest of the globe, sapiens certainly didn't lack resources or territory. Neither did Neanderthals threaten sapien territory by expanding into their own. My theory, they needed more. They had been conditioned to be more adventurous, and rewarded for their expanding across Erectus territory in the millenniums prior. Whatever the reason, special war had begun. Neanderthals had strength and power, but sapiens had speed and projectile weapons. And when they finally came to blows, it wasn't even close. Sapiens could keep far away from prey and predators, using their speed and stamina, outcompeting the slow Neanderthals for food and shelter. Neanderthals had greater strength and durability, relying on their brute strength, heavy muscles, and large bones. It allowed them to take hits and keep moving. But their hunting took more time, and sapiens could simply kill their prey from a distance with bows or spears. When coming to official blows, speed and the ability to throw outdid stabbing and physical strength. It wasn't long till they too, like all the others, perished. Filling their role, they entered Siberia around 45 to 40,000 years ago, and Japan 39,000 years. Being rewarded for their ingenuity and conquest spirit, sapiens had gained a taste for adventure, creativity, and movement. Not being punished by nature like their ancestors for daring to change things. They kept pushing and proving that not a single stretch of territory was safe. Sapiens would discover an entirely new continent 20 to 15,000 years ago, which no other Homo
no other hominid, hominidea, or hominoidea had ever seen or lived on. They were the most achieved in any of their special family in prehistory. Unchallenged on these new continents, they spread rapidly, filling their niche and being able to quickly outsmart what predators they had left on this new continent. They would arrive at the farthest reaches south around 13,000 years ago. There would still be some islands untouched by sapiens for a couple more thousand years, but the vast majority of Earth now fell under their rule. Upon the Ice Age's end in 9,500 BC, they stood as the sole hominid, no challengers and inheritors of all the Earth. 3 of them had gone in, while only 1 had come out. Her closest relative now being the comparatively and extremely distant, unintelligent chimp. However, it seems that they had only begun to tap into their abilities. So it wouldn't be long after this that these humans would revolutionize their relationship with the very earth beneath their feet.